Now, every year at E3, some games come along and you're expecting to see them. You're excited. Other games you may have heard whispers about, and then other games just come totally out of the blue and make your jaw drop on the floor during the Microsoft press conference. And I'm speaking now specifically about Project Spark, because joining me right now on stage, Dave McCarthy, the general manager for Microsoft Studios, here to talk about the game that we all have known about for about 48 hours. Dave, welcome to the stage.
Thank you for having me.
You were on a much bigger stage just 2 days ago, debuting Project Spark. And for those who missed the Microsoft press conference, before we get into talking about, the nitty-gritty, or as much as we really want to get into Project Spark, give them the overview of what kind of experience you guys are trying to make.
Yeah, sure. So the main idea behind it is we want to try and put creation in the hands of everyone, right? Mm-hmm. So we got this dream that if you've got it inside your head, we can enable you to build it, play it, and share it with others. And we think we're at a point in the industry with technology and tools and design sensibilities coming together that everyone is capable of creating something that would be awesome to play. So the basic idea is, regardless of platform, give people the tools and the games that they need to create. It's we call it like an open world digital canvas. It's kind of the...
I like that phrase.
Yeah, not a game, an open world digital canvas, and just can bring your imagination to life, completely powered by the community.
And you're going to see that canvas in action in just a few moments here, folks. We've got some of the footage from the press conference to show you. We'll be going through that. But, Dave, games that put creation in the player's hands have been around for a while, and, people have tried different takes on it and, brought different experiences. What's sort of about Project Spark, and we've got just a quick, get the tapes right, it'll come back. What I was saying was, what about Project Spark? It sort of, how are you guys trying to differentiate? What in terms of when the player comes to it, what's the experience for them? What's gonna make them really just have it be a conduit for their creativity?
Yeah, well, I think the biggest difference people will notice is that creation is the game in itself. So it's not an add-on to a game. Uh-huh. It is a creation experience from head to toe. And there's really three main ways in which players can create.
Okay.
So they can start with a blank slate and do something just from scratch, think it up in their head, sculpt it out.
Conjure it out of the ether and say, I want this kind of space, I want it to look like this, I want these things in it. And this is footage of you from the press conference about to do that a little bit. So that's one of the ways.
That's one of the ways. If sort of starting from a blank slate is a little overwhelming and you want to kind of get a head start on things, we have a story builder, basically. We call it Crossroads, which is a series of narrative choices you can do to essentially get to your own game loop. We're showing an example with the terrain selection here about what we were doing on stage. So it's not just visuals that you can select, but I want to go on a quest. I want to be the hero. I want to save the damsel. I want to fight goblins. And the amount of variety and side quests we spin off that allows you to basically create a story on screen, build that into a game, and at the touch of a button, share that with the world.
And so when you're also seeking that experience out, you could be doing that in a scenario created by another player.
Absolutely, which is actually the third way to create, which is you can take anything that the community has made and modify it, make it your own, put your personal touch on it, and share it back to the community. And the cool thing is, what people will see is they'll see the lineage of any given game.
You see the iterations of which modification. Yeah,
that's right. So they'll be able to see the DNA. You'll see your credit in there. You'll have creator credit for your contributions to it. And that's what we see even now. We're in alpha with Project Spark, and we see people building on each other's ideas and just getting better and better. Lots of great examples in the team of that happening right now.
That seems really an interesting way to sort of, if you can see who edited it, can you revert back to that and sort of see their version of it? Will that be available? And you can kind of trace the story of that project itself?
Yeah, that's right. So you can always see a creator's creations in the community. We save it all. And then you can see how something evolves over time. The other thing I would say that really sets it apart is this idea that you can add behaviors to any part of the world, right? So it's not just about building great-looking levels and characters and so on, but it is creating either logic and AI from scratch, We've got an easy visual programming language essentially to do that. Or taking a bunch of sort of pre-canned, we call them brains, that you can apply to anything that could be first-person shooter to third-person adventure to RPG, and you can just put those templates basically in and create a game quickly using those.
Now, logic is actually a word that's popped up a lot in the twitch.tv/GameSpot chat here. People are curious about, about that system, about how you create, you can create a world, and that seems like that's a very accessible thing for people to sort of wrap their mind around. But then creating a world that reacts to you in certain ways, that has, that will engage you in that way. How do you go about sort of structuring that in a way that is accessible yet powerful and flexible?
Yeah. Well, the coolest thing is anything in Project Spark can have a brain. We even showed on stage the idea that you can put a brain on a rock.
Yeah, that rock became a soldier
and
started fighting goblins.
Yeah, and the cool thing was, just to turn it into a pet rock was literally, 2 commands. When the rock sees me, it'll move towards me and follow me around. That simple, right? Then what you can do is you can use those default brains, you can add to that logic, you can say, when it follows me for more than 5 seconds, make it explode, right? Any direction you want to take it, the visual language is capable of doing those. Or, if that's a little intimidating for you, you can just see what others have done with their brains and apply them to anything in your world. So you can give behavior to any object that you drop in there.
Like a giant mech device that we saw just teased right at the end there. What was that thing?
Yeah, so a couple interesting things to point out with that. The first is that we don't supply a mech. What somebody did is you can unglue all of the pieces of assets that are in our catalog. In that case, we had a house and some fences. You just take them apart, reconstruct them like a Lego set into a mech, and then use the brain behaviors to say, I want it to be fully robotic motioned.
No kidding.
Incredible creation. And the cool thing is, if you and I sat there and went, the odds of us being able to have the time or, in my case, brain power to create a mech from scratch. I can take that mech now. It's in the community. I can make it my own. I could make it jump 50 feet in the air. I could make it dance around and do a jig. Whatever I want to do, I can apply those behaviors to it.
Mechs dancing jigs in Project Spark. You heard it here, confirmed on the GameSpot stage. Folks are wondering, Prankster598, question about the spaces you can create in. Early on, when you were creating the landscape and going through the different biomes, different day-night cycles, that's sort of like, you could see the finite boundaries of that land.
Yeah.
What in terms of scope of breadth and height, like into sky or underwater, like what are the limits here for Project Spark?
There's obviously theoretical limits to what we can do. What we show on that tile, that's literally a tile of the world. So once you build that, then you can build out beyond that and build on that. You can go down, you can go up, you can go sideways, you can do whatever you want to do. We've had examples of 2x2, 4x4 mile setups in there. It can go for a long time. And of course, you're populating it with objects. The more behavior you put on objects, that could influence the size of your world. But the boundaries are limitless.
The boundaries are limitless, and you guys this is obviously creation is at the core of Project Spark. And so, what kind of experience are you crafting as, a tutorial experience, a welcome to Project Spark, like, check it out, this is the stuff you can do, this is the world you're in, this is like all our creative tools, because I think that is one of the big challenges of these kind of creation games is we allow the player to do this much, but if you just set this much down in front of a player, it's daunting.
Yeah, so there's a number of different routes into that. I think some people will do it through playing content, so people can come out into Project Spark, play anything the community has created. They could just play if they wanted to. It might be weeks, it might be months before they decide to actually create themselves. And again, they can take those pieces, make it their own. There's a full set of sort of introductory interactive tutorials, if you will, that we walk people through, and those are available for them. They can learn how to sculpt, they can learn how to paint, they can learn how to apply brain behaviors to things, and we sort of parse those out into easily digestible pieces, so that people can learn along the way. There's a full community around it, so we do community support around questions, tutorial videos, that sort of thing.
Nice.
And then some people are going to discover it through the game mode creation. So we're going to put games out there ourselves as the Project Spark team, and those will act as teaching tools as well on how to introduce new pieces of functionality in.
And during the Microsoft press conference, you guys had sort of a teaser reel of different snippets, and whenever you sort of look into creation in games, and you'll see the clone of Angry Birds, the clone of Space Invaders, these classic games sort of, like, oh, look, you could do this, but then also you can do this thing that is not even identifiable, but it's totally new, someone created it.
Yeah.
All that stuff is going to be online and available. How do you make that accessible and searchable so that people aren't just lost in a sea of creations?
Yeah, totally. So there's a tagging system behind every bit of user-generated content that goes into the community. So you can search on any of those tags. It could be a genre. It could be a object you're looking for. Show me games with mechs in them. Show me first-person shooters. So you can apply all of those filters. We also do some curation ourselves, so we'll have most popular because there's a voting mechanic in the community.
Yep.
So what's surfacing to the top. As the Project Spark team, we're going to pick out some of our favorites, have an editorial section on things. There'll be multiple ways for you to find content. I love the variety. Somebody in the community the other day came up with a 30-minute scripted Miami Vice episode out of... I don't even understand how they did it. Cheesy dialogue, car and boat chases. We get that. We get first-person shooter games. We get Space Invaders and ASCII. Like, we get everything.
That's fantastic.
And I'm impressed every day when I see the new stuff people make.
With all this creative power, people are very interested in getting their hands on it. The Xbox One, of course, is going to be one of the platforms it's available on. Is it the only platform it's available on?
It is not the only platform
Not
it's
the only
available
platform.
on.
Let's talk about where Project Spark is landing and how do those versions interact with each other, if at all.
Yeah, so we're going to release on Xbox One. We're going to release on Windows 8. So that's touch, but also keyboard and mouse devices. And we didn't announce it during the press briefing, but we're going to be on Xbox 360 as well.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, so the idea is I can create, play, and share on any of those platforms, and it's all cloud-powered. So no matter where I am, I could create on one console, play on another, do it on my tablet screen. That full interoperability between them is there, and it'll be there for launch.
Nice. Now, of course, the PC has an incredibly rich history of this kind of creativity through user mods and stuff like that for a wide variety of games. Are there going to be capabilities for playing on Windows 8 that you might not see on the Xbox 360? And then, just in terms of the different versions, if they're all feeding into the same community pool, but are they going to have different functionality?
It'll be more like platform features. So Xbox One, you'll see a lot of unique functionality around Kinect, for instance.
Sure.
You're going to see some other surprises that will roll out in the summer for that platform specifically. We're really excited about what that unlocks. There's some unique stuff on Windows 8. We do want to optimize, though, for this idea that you can build it, play it, and share it anywhere. We think that's one of the most powerful things. I love the idea that anybody can make a console game now. And get on there and play with your friends. So making sure that works seamlessly is really our number one goal with it all. The other thing I should mention was we haven't talked about this a lot publicly, and we didn't mention it in the briefing.
Yes.
The core experience itself will actually be free to play.
No kidding.
Yeah, so we're going to make it accessible to everyone. We want to optimize for that community content. We'll do some transactions, obviously, around add-on content that you could do and some other bundling type approaches around it. But that base experience, everyone's going to be able to create and play from scratch.
No kidding. For free on Windows 8, Xbox 360, and Xbox One. So you download it for free. You've got a variety, you've got the just build a world. You've got the play scenario someone else has made. You've got to take something that someone else has made and make it into your own thing. That's all going to be part of the free-to-play version. And then, is it just different elements that you bring in? I want my houses to look like feudal Japan. I want my houses to look like robots built them.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're not rolling out all the details, obviously, around what transactions are in there, but I can promise definitely that all of that base functionality in terms of playing, building, sharing with others, that will be available in the core free-to-play experience.
Very cool. Dave, Project Spark, you mentioned it was in alpha.
Yeah.
people were like, "Hey, man, I'll get in the alpha." It's not exactly how alphas work, but are you planning any kind of beta, any kind of early access or demo or anything for Project Spark?
Yeah, absolutely. So people can go now to joinprojectspark.com, sign up for the beta.
Is that projectspark.com or joinprojectspark.com?
Joinprojectspark.com.
Okay.
Yeah, and yeah, sign up for the beta. We'll release details on there in terms of timing and so on.
And platform?
We're going to start on Windows 8.
Great.
Yep. And the idea there is we just want to have a bunch of content built up for day one so that people can start playing games right out of the gate.
Very cool. Dave McCarthy from Microsoft Studios talking Project Spark. Beta is going to be available on Windows 8. JoinProjectSpark.com. That beta's coming sometime soon.
Yeah.
But the actual game Project Spark, are you guys aiming for launch for Xbox One?
We're saying launch window.
Launch window?
Yeah, exactly.
And around that time for the other platforms as well?
You got it.
All right, Dave, thank you so much for coming and talking Project Spark.
My pleasure.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a glimpse at Project Spark revealed at the Microsoft press conference. And now we are going to go away from the stage for a minute. We'll be back with Destiny of Spirits in just a few.